In this episode, marking 6 months, I took the suggestion made a little while ago to have a recap episode. Before the recap, I wanted to thank you all for participating so far. I found it interesting watching how the story evolves based on the actions you have Michael take. Recently I discovered how to arrange the voting using the poll system, which is the eye that appears in the top right. Anyway, here's the update. We met Michael on his way to work one morning where he discovered a blue light in a lake. He decided to investigate the ball emanating the blue light. The ball proved to be quite a distraction at work, and Michael's boss raised his concern when it looked like the ball was being absorbed into Michael's hand. Michael ignored him and absorbed the ball, resulting in his eyes turning blue. The following day when he arrived to work, he noticed the bottom panel was broken, and he decided to go in and investigate rather than calling the police. He went in concerned someone had broken in, but found nothing to be missing. However, later that day, 2 detectives came around and spoke to him as his boss, Farron, had not returned home the previous evening and could be missing. Unable to focus on the day and slightly concerned that the detectives thought he may have not reported the broken glass as he was involved, and had now contaminated any potential evidence incriminating him, and also a little concerned about his boss, he opted to close the store early. He passed out while watching TV and woke up feeling the sun on his face. He vaguely remembered dreaming about one of the detectives. Also of interest was him not feeling hungry despite missing supper. He debated not going into the store but rather playing a game. However, he decided to start the game download and going to work. Upon reaching the store, Michael noticed a group gathered at a nearby alley and went to investigate. It appeared Farron's clothing was discovered there, and the detectives advised Michael to go home and not to go into the store as they would be sending a forensic team to investigate in case it was a crime scene. Michael decided to investigate the store himself, but the day was a bit of a gap in his memory. He did have a dream about his encounter at the store and disintegrating one of the detectives using a blue ray from his left hand. A bit shaken up, he rushed to the store where he recalled the dream but found no evidence of the detective and sat down to ponder events. He ended up in a deep trance, facing a decision to reject the sphere or to embrace it, and he opted to embrace it. He woke up with someone standing over him who appeared to be part of an investigation team. They were concerned for his health and convinced Michael to go to a doctor, and he was taken there by the detective. The doctor tried to draw blood but found that the needle was unable to penetrate his skin. Now, a lot more aware of his capabilities, Michael opted to not try explaining the situation, but rather to remove the witness and raised his left hand, draining the doctor. He threw the clothes and fillings that were left behind out of the window and got a lift home with the detective. The following morning, he attempted to leave early to go and remove the evidence he had left behind, but was approached by 2 policemen as he exited his house. They needed him to come into the police station for some questions, but they needed it on record. Anxious to go and clear up the evidence, he had no choice but to go with them. The questions were mundane and a bit of a waste of time. However, he felt he'd still have enough time to clear the evidence before people were likely to arrive, and he headed to the doctor's surgery. While clearing the evidence away, he stumbled into a nearby shrub and noticed a concealed camera. In a panic, he opened the door to the surgery and heard the beeping of the alarm system. Realizing he did not have the code and did not want to take too long, Michael made a feeble attempt at creating the impression that the doctor was abducted and fled the scene using the doctor's car. He drove the car to the mountains and staged an accident by not engaging the handbrake and parking on a slope downwards. Kind tourists witnessed the accident and offered to help him. He took them up on the offer, and once in a nearby town decided not to head back home and rather go on the run. He opted to head to a smaller town and made his way there. He found a place to stay and decided to use his abilities in public under the guise of a magic trick, where he would partly drain people for slight sustenance each drain but not damaging them, while at the same time collecting tips. Things settled into a bit of a routine for a while until one day Michael felt someone was possibly following him. He climbed off at an earlier station and walked towards a forest to to confront his follower. The person made a flimsy excuse and Michael made a hasty departure. He noticed the distinctive logo on the person's shirt, and on his trip back to the station he had to avoid several others also wearing the same shirt. He was panicking by the time he reached the train, having avoided all those chasing him, only to see one right in front of him as the train doors opened. He managed to shove the person away and the doors closed. Later he discovered a poster of a band performing that evening with the same logo displayed. He then realized that perhaps not all were following him. A few days later, there were a group of large menacing men that blocked his exit from the train, and Michael's inaction resulted in him being overpowered and severely assaulted and thrown off the train inside a tunnel. He managed to crawl out into the sun and began to heal. After recovering, he returned to his normal routine. Feeling too nervous to perform properly, Michael decided to leave early. On his way home, he saw one of the men that had assaulted him walking alone, and an opportunity presented himself to get revenge. However, he chose to leave him alone and pretend he did not see him. Tune in next week to find out what happens.